By the end of this lesson, the learner will be able to demystify the myths of foam emulsion, identify temperature thresholds of egg yolks, and explain the different recipes prepared with egg yolks. Technically speaking, a foam is a dispersion of gas within a liquid. It is a relatively stable mass of bubbles. Foam is a substance formed by trapping pockets of gas in a liquid or solid. A bath sponge and the head on a glass of beer are examples of foams. In most foams, the volume of gas is large, with thin films of liquid or solid separating the regions of gas. All the foams we see in everyday life consist of tiny pockets of air surrounded by a thin film of water with various substances dissolved in it. Soufflés can be thought of as light relatives of foamed cakes. The beaten egg whites are folded into a base and must be cooked at a temperature high enough to set the proteins before the foam has reached its maximum expansion and begins to fall. Egg yolks are also beaten in some culinary preparations, but because of their high fat content and the fact that the yolk proteins are not easily surface denatured, they foam less effectively than the whites. Egg yolks are the crucial ingredient in cold emulsified sauces such as mayonnaise, which we discussed in Lesson 6, and of course in warm emulsions such as hollandaise. An emulsion is a system in which one liquid is dispersed in the form of fine droplets throughout another liquid with which it cannot evenly mix. When we make a warm emulsion, we are increasing the surface area or volume of the egg yolk by incorporating air. To achieve this, the yolks are whipped vigorously, and it is this mechanical action which introduces the air. What is tricky about making a hollandaise is the elevated temperature necessary to keep the butter liquid, a temperature which could theoretically overcoagulate the egg proteins. Once the yolks have been properly beaten, a reduction is usually added and the mixture is gradually heated and beaten until it is smooth, creamy, and quite thick. A double boiler or saucepan resting above a larger pan of simmering water will guarantee a gentle and even heat. At this point, butter is incorporated, slowly at first, and then more rapidly once the emulsion has thickened. There are some who like to make the sauce in a blender or food processor, but this takes away from the charm and pleasure of creating it by hand and seeing the emulsion develop. Should the sauce separate, it can be rescued by whipping in some drops of water or, in extreme cases, beating an egg yolk and incorporating the broken sauce. If the hollandaise sauce is too hot, we must add some cold water, and if the sauce is too cold, we must add some warm water. The temperature threshold for making this warm emulsion is between 63 degrees Celsius and 65 degrees Celsius, which is why if we want to beat the yolks in a saucepan over direct heat, we must keep our hand on the edge of the pan, because our sensitivity to heat is 56 degrees Celsius and the coagulation of the yolk is around 63 degrees Celsius, which is dependent upon the composition of the yolk. A sabayon, or zabaglione as it's called in Italian, is a warm, heavily beaten mixture of egg yolks, sugar, and marsala wine. Here we can see an example of sabayon served with fresh strawberries. Hollandaise, along with mayonnaise, can be considered as a mother sauce. There are many variations based on the basic preparation of hollandaise, such as sauce béarnaise, which adds a tarragon reduction as well as chopped tarragon. Sauce choron, which adds tomato puree to the sauce béarnaise. Sauce foyo, which adds a reduced meat glaze to that. And sauce maltaise, which is a hollandaise with the juice and zest of blood oranges, usually served with asparagus. Don't just make a hollandaise, take it one step further and make a sauce choron.